What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into the Queen's Lounge podcast. I am your homegirl, Shay. And of course, I have another dope interview today. I'm going to bring this young lady in for her to introduce herself and let you all know who she is. Ma'am, please let the people know who you are.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Nikiyah Crosdale, and I am the author of The Thought Jar. You can't even see it because it's
Yay!
blurred out, but
It's kind of
that's
blurry.
that's my book, The Thought Jar. So I'm excited to be here today.
Yay! So we're going to get into some of the questions with Miss Crosdale in concerns to her book and being a children's writer. So the first question, Miss Crosdale, I have for you is how did you get into writing children's books?
So for me, I am really big into self-help, especially after college and not landing that job that I wanted to. I started to really, do the internal work. And so
Mm-hmm.
got into things like The Secret, meditation, and things like that. And so I just started to notice just how things started working out for me when I started to, check my inner voice, my negative self-talk. I started to meditate more and things like that. I just started to see my life started to change in a different direction for the good. And so for me, I was just like, I wish I had this information when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at my corporate job at the time, just thinking of ways that I could influence the youth with this kind of information, laws of attraction, words of affirmation, and things like that. And so a book just came to mind out of nowhere. And I was just like, a book would be perfect because I would be able to deliver the message and it could reach millions of
Mm-hmm.
children. And so that's why I decided to become an author.
That's awesome. One thing I love about starting young or getting kids' minds prepared young
Yeah,
is that it gives them a sense of how to handle things at a young age. And so it
exactly.
kind of creates a pattern for them to deal
Yeah,
with things as they get older and not hold it in or keep it bottled up or not be able to express themselves. So I think reading is a very fundamental way of
yeah.
being able to express themselves openly.
Exactly. I definitely agree. Those habits that we all have, they were formed between birth and the age of 6 or 7. And so you
Uh-huh.
think about that, you know, just to know that you have the ability to change that mindset at a young age that will affect them throughout their entire life. It's just really rewarding in that way.
I love that. Okay, so how did you come up with the title for your book?
So okay, so the thought jar is kind of crazy how my writing process worked. Um, what happened was I wanted to create a concept, a tangible concept that children can use and take with them throughout their lives. Kind of sort of how we do vision boards and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know I write things down all the time. I believe in that, power of manifestation. But I wanted to make sure that the children had something tangible that they was able to create these habits of positive thinking on a day-to-day basis by using this device. And so the thought jar was like my main focus, and everything was written around the concept of the thought jar.
That's awesome. So, as a writer, I know that there are several writers who have a different way, a different method of writing a book. So, what is yours? What is your method of writing a book?
Well, since this is my first book, I used like that concept that I had, focus on my main audience who I wanted to influence first, and also the message that I wanted to put out. Those are the most important things that you want to do before you start the writing process. And
Hmm.
so when I was focusing on my audience, I was just kind of diving into the inner me, the younger me, what I wish I would have known when I was 6 or 7 or 8 years old,
Hmm.
that I could use today. And so that's kind of how I started my process of writing. And so when I had the concept of the thought jar, I actually wrote my book from back to middle to front.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
That
different
sounds
that way.
challenging.
It wasn't as challenging as you would think, because if you know the ending, it's kind
Uh-huh.
of easy to know what the beginning would look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I worked. Like I knew what the ending was going to look like. So for me, the beginning just had to flow with that.
Okay. I like that. You will be the first writer that I've heard write from back to front. And
Yeah.
so that has to be that's a very unique way of
Mm-hmm.
writing a book,
Yeah.
because you already know, like you mentioned, you know how the ending is going to end, and to be able to have everything flow to where it makes sense
Yep.
once it's all complete. That's
Exactly.
that's a craft.
Yeah.
That's definitely a craft. Okay, so what would you say is the most difficult part about writing or being a writer?
For me, the most difficult part is getting out of your own head.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially for my second book. You know, I think that my first book, it was like um it was more of my mission in life to write this book. So for my second book, I want that same type of alignment. I want that same
Uh-huh.
type of energy before I put out something, because I think that my book, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I think my book is so good and it resonates
Yeah.
with so many people, not even just the youth. It resonates with adults, that I
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure my second book is just as good. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's kind of for me the hardest part. Is kind of getting out of my own head. I
Now, would
definitely
you
have
find
writer's
it
block sometimes.
would you find it difficult having to compete with yourself when writing your second book? Because the first one is so bomb and it's so
Yeah,
dope.
yeah.
Do you think that it'll be more difficult to kind of compare the two? Having to
It
have, a higher standard for your second book.
yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's that higher standard. It's my battle with myself. Like I don't want to put out something that somebody, you know, the youth will read and they won't get that same amount of excitement as they do with the thought jar. Like when I write books, I write it with the intent to see the kids' expressions at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I just want to make sure that that second book is going to get that same level or even higher, you know what I mean, of that expression, that
Uh-huh.
excitement at the end.
Okay, so you mentioned having writer's block, which I'm sure most people have in any type of career or any type of thing that they do that they want to put their all into, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
singing, being a songwriter, whether it be an author, writing a book. So with that being said, having writer's block, does it often take you a lengthy long time or often a long time to produce a book or to create a book from beginning to end? How long does it usually take?
Yeah. So like for my first book around, I probably wrote the book in a couple of days.
Oh,
But
wow.
however, I knew I wanted to write a book. So the process that it takes to write a book takes way longer than the actual writing part. You know what I
Uh,
mean?
makes sense.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now with my second book. And it's been 2 years since my first book has been released.
Oh,
So
wow.
the process is there because I'm still like thinking of concepts, how the kids are going to react. Should I make a, you know, tangible kind of activity at the end, like the thought jar, or shouldn't I? So those are kind of the things that I'm battling with right now. So this is still the process, even though I haven't took a pen to a paper yet. I'm still in the process. Yeah.
Gotcha. So do you have a title for your second book yet?
I have not have a title. I don't have a title, but I am like 95% sure that it's going to kind of be a sequel. It's going to be
Okay.
in the same realm of positive thinking, um, in that same realm. So I'm probably going to use the same main character, EB. That's what I'm thinking. So
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we got the writing method down. We got how long it takes to actually produce a book. So what about your illustrations? Do you work hand in hand with the illustrator? Is there a certain process you like to go through when selecting an illustrator to write your books or to illustrate your books?
yeah, my standards are extremely high, you know, well
Should be.
now
Should
with the
be.
thought jar, because like he came in and he heard my vision and he brought it to life. And
That's
so
awesome.
the illustrator who I work with now is DeCarso. He's out of St. Louis. He does digital art and he's an artist in general. But he's amazing. I went over the kind of concept that I have for the book, and he immediately started sending me different kinds of illustration, different drawings of the characters, and we just kind of stuck together like glue. And it was like it was real harmony with our connection as far as the book coming to life.
That's awesome.
So I would say when it comes to finding an illustrator, his work is important, but also that chemistry is even more important.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Is it easier to work with an illustrator that doesn't live in the same state? Because a lot of the authors that I interviewed, a lot of their illustrators are not in the same state and city as them.
Yeah, and it was so easy, with modern day technology, you can't
Yes,
really not do anything. You don't have to be
the
face to
click of a
face anymore.
button.
Yeah, and so it was like a click of a button. I would send him a page, he would come back with the drawing to bring that page to life. And it was just all digital. I would look at it via email, say give my thumbs up, and that was that. It was so easy. It was a really smooth process.
That's so cool. And I think that speaks a lot about the illustrator that you chose, is that
Mhm.
all you had to do was just submit the information to him and he was able to create what it
Yeah,
is that you were looking for, to kind of flow with the book. And
yeah,
one thing I love, and you can probably attest to this being a children's author, is that a lot of kids hear the words, but what is more fascinating is the pictures.
is the pictures.
Uh-huh. And
Yes,
so I think that's a very essential and important part when creating a book, is that
I
not
will
only do they
100
hear the words, but the pictures as well.
I will 100% agree. Um, I have like a question time at the end every time I read a book to different classrooms, and
Hmm.
I almost always hear, "Who is EB? Is she you when you were younger?"
Oh, that's
So like
cute.
they're looking at these pictures. Oh, I have a story. So I have a friend who has he had a 2-year-old at the time. And
Uh-huh.
so he bought my book. And of course she couldn't read it, but she
Right.
could like look at the pictures and say, she's sad, or she's
Oh,
mad, or she's happy. So like those kind of
I
things I
love
love.
that. I
Yes,
love that.
yeah. It's very
That's really
important.
awesome. I really love that. Now I'm gonna have to start paying more attention to the illustrations, because
Yes.
one thing that you and the other ladies that I interviewed have in common is that your not only are your words amazing in the book, but your illustration, that you took so much detail into your illustration. Like you
Yeah.
were very descriptive
Hmm.
in wanting, the pictures and the illustration to actually say what's in the words.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
I
It
love that.
really
And for a
does bring it
two-year-old
to
to be able
life.
to say that.
I'm sorry.
I said for a 2-year-old to be able to understand from the pictures
Yes.
what's going on, like what type of mood she's in. I love that.
Yes, I was like that. That just shows you the power of illustration. So
That's really, really dope. That's really, really
yeah,
dope. So kudos to the guy who
yeah,
worked with you on producing the illustrations for the book. Because the
yes, he's
2-year-old to be able
amazing.
to tell you,
That
what
expression,
mood.
yes,
Uh-huh. I
yes,
love that. That's really, really
yes.
awesome. Okay, so my next one is, what would you categorize your book as far as genre? We know that it's a children's book, but how would you categorize it? Genre rise.
So like I said before, I am a self-help book fanatic. So
Uh-huh.
I would describe this book, or I would categorize this book as a self-help book for children.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Um, as you continue to write books, is that just going to be the genre that you want to stay in?
I believe so. I've tried to kind of make it more simple, because it's not a simple book. It's a complicated book, but what makes it so rewarding at the end is that children resonate with it. They get it. It's like instantly they're like raising their hands at the end trying to answer questions. And so we need to give our youth more credit. You know what I mean?
Yes,
They understand things way younger than we probably
absolutely.
younger than what we were when we were kids. And
Uh-huh.
so I want to make sure that I'm putting out information for them that is going to resonate with them throughout their entire lives. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with the genre of self-help.
That's awesome. Now, what's the age group of the audience?
So I would say anywhere between 7 and 14.
Okay.
And I mean, honestly, this book does resonate with like adults, because I always get adults after I read a book like, man, I wish I would have known that information. Or
I
man,
know
I have to
it.
read the thought jar again. I have to make my own self a thought jar. So it's like it does resonate with all kinds of age groups. But I normally typically read to age 8 to 14.
That's awesome. So what makes a good children's book?
So I think what makes a good children's book is its ability to resonate, connect, and relate to its audience. So once you capture the imagination, the creativity of the children, then it's a good book. And
Yeah.
that's why I look so much forward to the end,
Mm-hmm.
where as soon as I ask, "Do you guys have any questions?" and all I hear see is this, like the excitement at the end, because you can tell that it resonated with them, and so
That's awesome. One thing I love about a book in general, no matter what type of book that it is that it keeps you coming back. So
yes,
that tells a
yeah,
lot about the author. That tells a lot about how descriptive they were
mhm,
in the writing of the characters. In
right,
children's books, that lets you know how detailed they were in the illustrations,
yes,
how they were able to capture, like you mentioned, the
mhm,
audience's attention. Because to be able to read a book to a child that's that young and they pay attention,
yeah,
that's a good book.
it's a good book. Yep, yep,
Because kids' attention spans are very small. And I mean, that's to be expected because they're young, they're jittery, they want to, move around and not have to
right,
sit for so long. So to be able to capture their attention at such a young age, as
yes,
young as 2, and for
yes,
her to be able to understand that that really tells a lot about the great writer that you are, and it also
mhm,
tells a lot about the illustrator that you chose to help you bring the book to life. So I am loving the fact that I can read a book and keep wanting to read it.
yes, 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 same.
Absolutely. Yes. Do you have a favorite author or a favorite genre of books you like to read?
So I do self-help books is kind of my thing. I'm not more
Okay.
I'm not into mysterious and all that, like romanticizing books. I
Gotcha.
like to read books that is going to feed me, where I
Okay.
can grow from. So when it comes to favorite authors, I don't have favorite authors like the genres. Like I just got done reading a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a really deep self-help book.
The title itself
Yeah, yeah.
sounds pretty deep. That's amazing. You would be the first person I know that not only gravitates to those type of books, but
Mhm.
wanted to take that and make it into something that children can relate to or
Yeah.
that children can understand. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the future of your writing. So
Uh-huh.
this being your first book, you telling us a little bit about what the thought chart is about. So your future writing, do you have any plans on collaborating with any other authors, or are you going to stick with the same illustrator?
I would love to collaborate with other authors. That would be great.
Uh-huh.
For my second book, I definitely want to stick with the same illustrator just because he did such an amazing job on the first book. And I want to keep that same character, EB. So
Uh-huh.
I want him to be, yeah, the person who brings that book to life. But in the future down the line, I definitely want to collaborate, make some magic out here in Kansas City. And it is so much when you are a writer, an artist, you think so much past where you're at. Like I'm thinking
Uh-huh.
about Africa, building
Yeah.
with them. And so like that is kind of where I'm at, is just making sure that my work reaches to as many children as possible.
That's awesome. Are there any future book tours?
Future book tours. So right now I work with the organization called Lead to Read.
Okay.
And so it was such a blessing. Like when I first wrote the Thought Jar, the director reached out to me and we became partners. And so we do a tour pretty much all year round for the Kansas City elementary schools because they have
Oh,
relationships
wow.
with them. And I go and I read my book to the different schools in Kansas City. And so
That's
I have
awesome.
I have a reading actually on Monday.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. To be able to have a thought of a book,
Hmm.
writing it, reaching out to an illustrator, him bringing to life the words, being able to publish it,
Yeah.
having other people read it, you yourself be able to read it. That's amazing.
Yes,
That's
yes, it
really,
is.
really, really amazing. So, do you have any upcoming events?
So like I said, on Monday I have a reading, and then after that, a reading was rescheduled, so I think it's going to be in a couple of weeks. I have another reading. So that's the only thing that I have right now.
Okay. So where can people purchase the book?
So my book is available on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, or you can go onto my website, www.bornyou.com, where you can also purchase the Thought Jar Kit, and you can purchase a copy of my book with a signature. So
That's awesome. So what does the kit include?
So the kit includes a jar. I wish I had my jar. I normally have it right here with me. So it includes a jar and stickers. So there are stickers of the main character Evie, or there's stickers of like a boy, of a male character,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, that's it. So a jar and stickers and a book. So
That's cool. And a personalized signed copy.
and a personalized signed copy. Yes.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, Miss Nikiyah, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and hang with me at the lounge and talk
Yeah,
about writing and your book. And I'm so excited about the new book that you are writing, that you're working on currently. And I'm
I'm
looking forward
excited.
to being able to read it. How much
Yes,
longer do
yes.
you have how much longer do you have to go before it's complete?
Honestly, I don't have a timeline on it. So like whenever it comes to me, just be on the lookout.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to say to the people before I let you go?
I just want to thank you for having me. I love your energy.
Thank you.
I'm so, I'm grateful for whoever allows me to have a platform to put this information out. But I guess when it comes to your audience, just make sure you talk to your children. Create those habits of positive thinking at an early age. If you want
Yes.
to use the thought jar as a kind of go-to reference, it's a great book to connect with your children, and it also have a questionnaire at the back of the book, so you can kind of go over and just to make sure that your kids comprehended what happened in the book, and you can create the thought jar as a family activity. It's so much fun.
I love that. Now, I have one more question before I let you go. Will each of your books that you create, since they are self-help books, will they
Mm-hmm.
also include activities at the end? Everyone that
Yeah.
you decide to write?
Yes, yes. The activity is definitely how I engage with my audience, especially when I'm going places to actually create thought jars with the youth. Is so gratifying to see that they are able to read the book and then also have something to take home with them. They're always so
Absolutely.
happy. And then also the comprehensive exercise at the end, it helps me really know how the book is working and that
Hmm.
it's resonating with them. And so it's something that I'm definitely not going to get rid of.
That's awesome. I don't know about everybody else, but for me, I'm a visual learner. And so
Mm-hmm.
being able to, especially with the children's book, being able to
Yeah,
read a book and then be able to visually
yeah,
participate in what the book is saying and to
yes,
actively do it, I think helps better understand the book as well.
I agree. I
So I
agree.
think that's a amazing tool that I don't see a lot of children's books have. You see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of children's books as we were growing up, where they had the different things that you can touch, you can feel,
Yeah,
that type of thing. But actually
yeah,
being able to physically participate
yes.
that's a winner.
It is.
That's a winner.
I love
That's
that.
a
I love
winner.
that they read the thought jar and they can have a thought jar of their own. I love that.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that idea. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I will definitely be getting this book for my son. He's a little young,
Yay.
so I'll read the book. The
Yes.
thought jar, I have to wait till he gets a little older,
Yeah.
but the book I can definitely read. He's only 8 months. So,
Okay, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
he's
And
paying attention to the books.
you can make you a thought jar. So he'll be like, "What's that, mama?" when you put the thoughts up
Yes.
there. Yes.
That's a good idea. Well,
Yes.
Miss Nikiyah, this will not be the first or last time I invite you to come on the podcast. I appreciate you so much. It was really good to meet you. I love your energy, your spirit as well. You're so
Thank you.
sweet, and it's really good to know. It's really good to talk to you and chop it up with you a little bit. If you have not, I encourage you to please purchase Miss Nikiyah Crosdale's book. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes Noble, and you can also check out her website if you want to purchase the book as well. Can they follow you on all your socials so they'll know exactly where you'll be to get a
Yes.
copy or meet you?
Yeah, and anytime if you guys are educators out there, let me know. I can definitely partner with you guys and I can come in and read a book to your class. My Facebook is Kia Crosdale, and my Instagram is Kia KC.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Crosdale, so much. It was good to meet you once
Thank you.
again. And I will not, this will not be the last time I invite you on the show.
I hope not.
No, ma'am. Any last words you want to say?
No. Thank you so much for having me. And
You
you
are
guys
so
have a
welcome.
wonderful week.
Yes, ma'am. You too. And I'll be talking to you soon.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Bye bye.